Hi guys. So if you are joining in right now, please add your name to the meeting minutes. It's in the chat, and we will get started. So welcome everyone. This is the Layer 5 community meeting. Today is June 25th, and we are 3 after, and we have 11 people on the call. So let's get started. So we had a couple of newcomers join us this week. So at Layer 5, we have a tradition to introduce yourself when it is your first time on the call. So I see Ayushman Mishra. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I am Aishwan Mishra, and I am new to this cloud native and Kubernetes environment. I'm just checking. I'm just here to discover some community and involve this in this community. Actually, learn something.
Welcome.
Am
Nice.
I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Ayushman, were you on another call a little while ago, or am I thinking of Akil? I think you.
No, this is my first call. Actually, I think I just joined yesterday a newcomer's call for just few minutes. Then I couldn't just hold there. So this is my first call for this Mashri meetings.
Oh, cool. Nice. Very good. You know what it is? Actually, the Vendu, if you scroll down to the last week's meeting minutes, there was Anam, whose name was in all capitals as well. And so I just remember people who yell their names at us. And so anyway, very nice to have you. Thanks for jumping in. How did yesterday's newcomers call go? Any?
I was actually just few minutes. I was there. It was I like 5 minutes actually, so I couldn't get the hold of it what they were actually telling about. And actually, I'm new to this Kubernetes and Docker environment, and just I've just started learning Go and some JavaScript actually, and I want to just contribute to the CNCF organizations actually.
There's about.
Yeah, Lee.
No, there's about. I think a lot of people want to chime in. Like you're in the right place. Good. Yeah, there's a ton of other folks learning right alongside you, including me. And so, thanks for coming. Good. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. So we are looking through the list, and I see Ben Vasonga. Is this your first time on this call? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ben, and yes, this is my first time.
Nice. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm currently I'm a trained teacher by profession, and I'm teaching myself how to code. So a friend of mine recommended the Layer 5 community as a good space to just expand my scope and get to learn to do and create a lot of wonderful stuff with a lot of wonderful people.
Well, we'll have to see if we uphold to that. But Ben, are you? Whereabouts are you calling in from?
I am from Kenya.
Oh, nice, good, perfect. So many Nigerians running around here. Like it's just it's nice to have get some other representation. So good.
Yeah.
I think Anita might slap me later for saying that. So, but yeah, Ben, welcome, and nice to. By the way, Ben, did you say that I missed what you'd said? You'd said that you'd been. I thought you said kitchen, but I misheard what you said.
I've been a teacher.
Oh, yeah, very good. Good. Yeah, thanks for coming, Ben. Good to meet you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ben. The rest of the names are old people, like they have been here a long time ago. So if there is anyone in this call who is in for the first time, then feel free to introduce yourself. If you have problems with your mic, then you can just jump in on the chat and introduce yourself. All right.
There's I swear there's another Austinite on the call here. There's a Mr. Joseph.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joseph Madura. I usually go by Joe, so you might see both names in the chat. I've been at one of the newcomers meetings before, but this is my first Layer 5 community meeting. I've used Docker a little bit in the past, but I'm still new to the service mesh environment, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it as I participate with the community more. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. That's awesome. Joe, there's a short book that is intended to be an introduction to what the heck service meshes are. I'll send you a link. I'll post it in the chat. Actually, it might benefit others as well. It's a short read, so hopefully it'll help. Nice.
Nice. Thank you, Joe. So we have a couple of announcements. So as you might have seen, Layer5 participates in some open source programs like Google Summer of Code, Community Bridge, and recently we participated in She Code Africa. So we are all about open source communities and bringing more people into open source. So this summer we have 3 new interns, Piyush, Soham, and Dhruv. You might have worked with them before, or you might have seen their works in the past. So if you like to learn more about them and their journey to being an intern at Layer5, then there is a blog post that is written by the 3 of them. And yeah, Lee, would you like to add something?
I'm stoked to that the 3 of these fine young gentlemen are here making an impact. Each of them, I don't know. It goes quickly. 2 things to note. There's a lot of folks that come by and inquire about internships. It's in part because our reputation precedes us for A, taking internships seriously, and B, doing a bit of what Ben does professionally, which is like trying to teach or trying to share what we know, and in the process, learn a bunch through teaching. The page that Navendu is on right now is a good reference. There's an FAQ section at the bottom that talks about how to land an internship with Layer5, what to do, and yeah, so that's one thing. The other thing is, if you're curious about like what the experience is like, there are 3 individuals that are interning right now to go ask, and most of them are on the call now. The other thing I would say is that the Linux Foundation, is a large organization. It has the CNCF, it has a bunch of other sub-organizations, and as such, they run an internship program. And it so happens that Meshery, one of our biggest project, is the #1 sought after internship through the Linux Foundation. So that's pretty awesome. And that's in part why, and that just sort of begets more interest, I think. So anyway, there's more internship slots than, well, no, how should I say this? the more maintainers that come through and are capable of mentoring others, the more internships we have going on simultaneously. So if you're someone like Michael Gefeller, who's sitting there wondering if maybe he should be mentoring someone, like, yeah, the answer is, I would suggest that maybe it's yes. And so anyway, these three folks that have come through, one of the, geez, I can't remember, one of them through Google Summer of Code, or two of them through Google Summer of Code, one of them through LFX. So cool. I'm excited about what you guys are working on. Super excited about what you're working on. So cool. Kudos. It's going to be a long summer, I tell you that.
Thank you, Lee. So, and another big announcement is two of our projects, Meshery and Service Mesh Performance, are in the CNCF sandbox. So this was we were accepted this week. So most of you will be working on this project. So what this means is that these projects will get more exposure because we are in the CNCF sandbox, and hopefully we will be able to get this project, like let more people know about these our projects and our work. So these are some of the CNCF sandbox project, and I guess Lee will be talking about what this means to us as community members, as contributors, as maintainers later in the call. So yes. Yeah.
It's a long time coming. So awesome.
Yeah. So moving on, let's get started with today's topics. Aditya, do you want to talk about your hackathon?
Yeah. So can I just present my screen?
Sure, Adi.
So hello everyone. My college is as a part of my college and tech club of our college, we're organizing a national level hackathon, which is in association with DevFolio, Matic, Portis, and all. So it's going to be held from tomorrow. It's going to be a 24 hours hackathon, and we have very good tracks, and one of the main sites to refer is our event website itself. Where's the chat? Yeah, so the link I have shared it in the chat. And coming to some of the other aspects of our hackathon, you guys are free to build anything whichever you want, and there's no boundary regarding topics or anything. And yeah, as you can see, the applications close in another 3 hours, and there are exciting prizes, and hope I'll be able to see you there. So yeah, thank you.
Adi, I might have missed it, but did you talk about what transpire with those that will potentially transpire here in the community for those that might participate?
Yeah, along with that, I completely forgot about that. So we have Layer5 itself as our gold sponsor. So what? Okay. Control 10. Yeah. So what we are doing is when the top participants who win prizes or show some capable projects or outstanding projects, they'll be offered a internship in Layer5, and they'll be working for a specific month during their internship, and they can consider this as their university benefit. So yeah.
That's yeah. I don't know, but all what I took away is that that's a fine looking logo. That second one from the top. No, but to be more serious, so Adi has been in the community for quite some time. As a matter of fact, I think he's being nominated to be a meshmate, and as part of that meshmate focus, Layer5 is supporting him in terms of what he's doing by helping organize and judge this national level hackathon. Which also makes a good opportunity for new learners to come and participate in a community that caters to new learners anyway. And so likely what Adi's going to be doing is selecting a handful of participants of the, I don't know how to say it, but of this particular hackathon, and engaging them in an internship. So that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Lee.
Do you have to be in India do you have to be Indian or in India to participate in this?
No, there's no restriction on that.
Okay, gotcha. Do you have to speak Tamil or anything like that?
No. You can be from any part of the world.
Cool. Okay, nice. Well, we should go share, do some be social with this. That's great.
Thank you, Adi. Looking forward to the event. Uh, we have a call for participation. So one of our projects, Meshery, has a documentation website which is written on Jekyll, and we need to in preparation for the next release, we need to go through the docs and check if everything is uh, working as it is written, and make changes there. So if you are interested in picking up some of these issues and learning about Meshery, then reach us out in Slack or anywhere. So yeah. Okay, let's move on to next item. Abhishek, do you want to talk about meshkit error utility?
Sure. Let me just share my screen. All right. So what I wanted to talk about is basically uh, we've been discussing about meshkit error utilities for the in our previous meetings. So I'm not going to talk about that again. Rather, I'll just directly jump into what this is about. Basically, we've introduced a contributor documentation for anyone who wants to start using the meshkit error. The documentation can be found inside the contributing section, um, and this is basically a gist of uh, how to maintain the error after it's like basically if any repository has the error utility going on inside, uh, and if they want to add more error utility and then error codes and then compile them, this is the gist of it. But a detailed version of how to introduce the errors and how to create a error object to use is mentioned in here. And basically this is just we'd like feedback on this particular dog if it needs more detail or anything. And I think Rudraksh has something to talk about it. Not sure.
Sorry, can I just comment something?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You see the error code there as 111, but this should not be a literal. You should be using the constant or variable that you declared before. Otherwise, it won't work with the utility.
Okay, so it's a strict case that we'll have to declare literal and then
Yeah, yeah, because that's
got
how it is linked together in the documentation. So it has to be a variable.
okay, got it.
Yeah,
Understood. I'll look on that.
yeah.
Any more feedback?
So yeah, maybe less about feedback, more about, well, I guess what Dhruv and you are going to get into with respect to how can people take those instructions and take action on them?
Yeah, so like uh, there are there are a lot of logs that need to be migrated to Meshkit logs. Like currently, Meshri server is not using it, and we need to switch to Meshkit logs over there. So anyone who is interested or would like to help, we would like a lot of feel free to impact over here. Like this could be a very good first issue if you like, where there are a lot of handlers in which we need to switch to Meshkit errors and move from loggers to the from using loggers to show the info to use the handler log to show the info. So I just made this quick PR. I will add more detail to it so that it's a bit friendly. But basically, yeah, for if you want to get started, a good place would be for you to see the dogs or the two handlers which have just been upgraded to use Meshkit logs are Grafana handlers and Prometheus handlers. You can check them out to see how it works if you want to contribute and want to have a gist of it. And if you still don't get it, you can ping me or Abhishek. We can help you out. You can pick few of the handlers which you like and start working on them. So this is like an open call to people who are interested in impacting here.
Cool. So the question is, are there any, well, aspiring gophers on the call, those that are somewhat new to Golang, or some that are quite adept at Golang, but looking to make an impact on Meshri? Anybody on the call meet either of those two descriptions?
I am new to Golang. I understand it is similar to C.
Yeah, that's a good, yeah. That's hard to argue against. and yeah, to just give more kind of context to what's happening here is that the Meshri as a project has, well, a number of different components. I'm not really sure if it's somewhere around 12 or something. And each of the components, we try to use a common framework for generating errors, producing errors. And there's been an effort recently to up-level and unify and provide consistency about the errors that are produced, assigning each one a specific, like referenceable code, uniquely referenceable code. Can someone share the error reference guide, error code reference guide? And outside of just a unique error code is also providing a short description, a long description, a probable cause for like, why did this thing probably happen? And then a set of suggested remediations, like what should you do to fix this error or overcome the error? And then, yeah, if whomever is sharing, if you go to the reference guide.
What do you mean?
On the lower left-hand corner, there's a section references or reference all the way down, all the way. There we go. So those error codes will be automatically published, like from the Golang, they'll be automatically published here. If you scroll down a little bit, and you can see that some codes have been generated, and there isn't a lot of context for what they are and how to remediate them. But here, this one's sort of been manually populated, such that this Meshri CTL client, this is kind of what people would be able to come and reference. They would see, and some of you may have even seen those error codes before. People can then look those up real quick and figure out, what to do. Now, so the call to action here isn't to go fill in like what the issue is and what to do about it, because as some of us just said, like oh, hell, I don't know. I'm just getting comfortable with Docker, much less Kubernetes, much less service meshes. So, that's not necessarily the ask. The ask is that there's a lot of, specifically in Meshery server, the main Meshery project, many of it, most of the time that it is calling out to manifest, and most of the time that's logging an error, it is not doing it using the utility that will produce, that will auto document the codes and all that. And so, yeah, so the instructions that Abhishek is going to go update and clarify is what I'm saying right now, and what Dhruv is like showing as an example right now is, hey, specifically, this is the old line, like this is what we would look for, logris.arf and like, here's the step to convert that to the new style error code. It's basically a new function. So it's a fairly straightforward, change that goes through. Like there's the new style right there on line 34. And so it can be a good way for people to force you to build some Go, to like get into Golang a little bit more, build some Golang, see that your changes are going. Ultimately, you would see your changes populated on the docs as well. So an easy way to ease into this, if anybody wants to give it a go, just signal.
Yeah, maybe another quick comment. If you go back to the code that you showed a minute ago. Now you see on line 26, you have these call expressions that are setting errors. That's not working either. So you have to.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to check that. I'll have to check that actually. Maybe you did. So that's another one because, because of the conventions we're using. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that one actually.
Okay, like these are basically the ones which does not need any error in particular. So that's why treated as a variable. Let's check.
Yeah, but it's still a variable, and the utility looks at the variable declarations, and so what's happening. And I would expect that you will get an error because of the because it's a call expression that is not. Yeah, this one. That it will call expression value. So probably might not work. I can check that. Sorry?
Convert them into functions, or like we can update the mesh schedule.
I mean, you should. I have to check whether this works, but I think it doesn't. So it should be like, but it would be interesting actually, because it's sort of like using the error variable names by this convention to connect all the dots and update correctly. But I have to check that. Where is it? Then I can run a check tomorrow. It's in. I can have a look. Where is it? It's in Meshery and it's error static boards. Just write it down. Sure, I find it.
You can go into handlers and there's error.go.
Yeah, I'll have a look tomorrow or so. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, great. That would be helpful. Thanks.
Rudraksh, do you want to like talk quickly about the CI stuff with this error code utility?
Yeah. Not much to update. It's just like can just link it right now. I don't have the link handy, the workflow that I showed. So that workflow will be running whenever a release is made, and it just runs the error utility, updates the documentation. So there was to be some discussion around when exactly would it run on stable releases or edge releases. Right now it's running on stable releases. It's not integrated into Messery CI yet. So yeah, it will just run on stable releases, and we have to think about what would happen for other components. Yeah, that's basically.
I didn't get what you said by other components.
Yes, like the adapter, the library. So the error code
Okay.
reference page will contain the reference for all the components, right? So we have to fetch the error codes for other components like the adapters and libraries as well.
Um, So Rudraksh, I think that the story is there's a draft workflow. There's a workflow that you've written that is to be merged into across most of the repos to run the error code utility that will auto-generate error codes and auto-generate documentation.
Uh,
Is that right?
so the draft workflow is currently only for Meshery repo,
Okay.
and it would only update for the Meshery server and Meshery CTL. We still have to figure out because the docs are essentially on the Meshery repo, so it has to be figured out how updates on other components will be reflected on the docs.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay. So the workflow for a Meshery adapter, for example, can auto-generate error codes. It can also auto-generate YAML that can be put into the docs. It's just that the docs are in a different repo, separate from the adapter. No problem. We can have a workflow that will push to the other repo.
Okay.
But that needs, yeah, to your point, that needs to be written. And there are a number of prior examples where we've done that in other workflows. So good, cool, solvable, problem solved.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool, good. All right. Well, hey, it's great to see Meshmate VJ was volunteering to do, take on a couple of swapping out of error functions to the meshkit errors. That's great. Also, there's some chat in, oh, okay, good. There's some Zoom chat happening, and I think most of you are seeing it. So good, good. Fair enough. Navendu, back to you. I think.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Rudraksh. So the next item is Anita. Do you want to talk about the upcoming tutorials?
Oh, hello everyone. Okay, so recently we've been having a lot of questions on if we have tutorials regarding the service mesh management plane and other topics that are going on within the community, and how to set up this how to set up on your own local computers, how to get started in the community, and very, very basic questions that will really be helpful to you and your growth. So we decided to take that into action by creating tutorials on every topic that you requested, or the major topics requested. So we sent out a survey form. I think we dropped it last week, but I'll still drop it in the chat. So we sent out a survey form and got feedback, which we are going to work on. So if you feel that you can actually take on a tutorial on any of these topics and successfully put it together, yeah, just send me a DM in the Slack channel, and then we'll schedule a talk. We'll schedule the tutorial and make it happen. And also, if you have a tutorial request that you'd want to make, or there's something you want to learn from the community so bad, but you've not seen a resource that actually answers that particular question, you can also request for a tutorial by filling in the survey form or just dropping it in the link below. Yeah, and then we'll get to it. So I look forward to seeing your requests and your responses.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we really should have any number of those. We do have a number of them recorded, but not we need a few that are kind of concise. Maybe not given by me, since I like being concise seems to be impossible for me. And actually it'd be ideal if they're not given by me. That's in fact why we don't have a few. It's because I really don't, because to be a narcissist with this statement or an anti-narcissist, I'll say, I really don't want it to be about me, or I'd much rather that one of you was talking about what you've done or how something works. And maybe you didn't do any coding at all here. That's fine. Don't do any coding. Like, just use the thing and go explain it to others. And some of that is like, has anyone run a performance test and taken a look at the statistical analysis that comes back and then thought how nice it would be to have a PhD like Michael does to understand what the hell the performance chart actually meant, the histogram that's shown? It's like, first of all, it's just bad UX and makes it even harder to understand. But then second of all, it's kind of like there's statistical analysis going on, and those two words put together aren't always easy to understand. And so my point is, not only do we need to improve the UX there in terms of what data is being presented to the user and how the performance of their infrastructure, the performance of their applications is being analyzed and characterized, but really, like, what does that mean to them? Great, there's a cool looking histogram with different, bubbles and info, but like, okay, and so what do I do about this? And how should I interpret that? Is that good? Is that bad? Like, how do I know? That's actually part of the point of service mesh performance, that whole project, that spec, the very dry spec. Specs are always kind of dry. We're trying, but let's liven it up with information. Like, let's tell people, you're running it really slow. You're doing a bad job. You should change something and run it faster. Like, your neighbor next to you is running it a lot better than you are, or no, you're doing very well. Like, how do they know? That's part of what we're trying to accomplish inside of service mesh performance, that other project, very related to Meshry. Meshry implements service mesh performance. But I digress. The point was that a tutorial, a short 5-minute, like a tutorial on that is really helpful. And if you have to give one or record one, that means you would have grokked the histogram and what it means. And you'll be a lot more confident in your knowledge.
And you'll be helping a lot more people out there too.
Cool. So Jibril, do you Jibril, you want to talk about, you're one of the first community members to like sign up to deliver a tutorial. Do you want to talk about the one that you were thinking about? And
oh yeah, sure. So the tutorial I have planned is basically the first question everyone asks when they join the community, like, what the heck is a service mesh? At least that was my first question. So I hoped to give this tutorial to help anyone like me who still has that question or has a small idea and doesn't really have the full picture of how they work and the other stuff that goes on.
that's good. Now we should, good. And I think you're about ready. You even went so far as to create a sample application to deploy on a mesh.
Yes, I did, but that's not going too well. So I might have to use one of the existing sample applications.
Sure. Thank you, Anita. Talk to you soon. Yeah, Jibril. Yeah, microservices, Jibril. Yeah. Good. Well, we should. There's no time to waste, Jibril. Like it's good. And then yeah, for everyone else, either give your +1s next to the tutorials. I think there's a lot of you that are on the call now that actually did fill in the questionnaire and voted for different topics that you'd like to cover. So that's great. So we'll get them going. Some of them are going to be easier to just go deliver because we've done it in the past. So, and some of them will come from you. So Jubril is number 1 so far. Cool.
Oh, thanks, Jubril. So I guess like we will upload these in our YouTube channel, so it will be there. You can watch it anytime, and yeah, it will be a good community resource. Uh, I also want to mention about the discuss.layer5.io's website. So that is a good place to ask questions. If you have any, like it is a new forum that we created, and yeah, we have some productive talks there. So if you have some questions, or if you there might be someone who asked the same question, so that will be a good place to check that. And yeah, so the next item on the list is GitHub Actions for Meshery. And Jubril, do you want to talk about some of your progress?
Yeah, sure. Uh, Let me share my screen.
As Jubril shares his screen and sets everything up, to give some context, Meshery can be used to run performance test and things like SMI conformance test. So what Jubril has been working on is to set up a GitHub action that can be used by other service meshes to test their service meshes. So they can add it into their CI/CD pipeline to check the performance of the service mesh of their mesh before they make a release, or check if they are SMI conformant and things like that. So Jubril, all yes.
Yeah, so basically, Navendo already said what this is about. But the biggest change here is that finally this works. Although this is just the workflow, what this means in the bigger picture is this can now be moved over to the action itself, because right now what you're seeing on screen is a workflow that basically sets up Meshery, deploys it, and runs a performance test. So with this now, I can move this over to the action, and people can actually use this using service mesh performance profiles. So yeah, that's the biggest change. And this also opens other doors for updates in the future, whereby this will not only run performance tests, but this can be used for other conformance tests and other features of Mesh CTL in the future. So yeah, I'm quite excited that it actually works now. So yeah, that's it.
Perseverance, Jibril. I don't know how many times that workflow had to run before. That's awesome. And I guess thanks to Piyush for the work on the new work on Meshery CTL. Dude, wow. Okay.
It
All right.
failed quite a few times.
That's awesome. So we need to, okay. All right. I'm taking a note. Like this is, we need to go tell a lot of people about this. As a matter of fact, Cilium, you guys know, I don't know if you know, Cilium is an open source project that helps put eBPF, the power of eBPF, into people's hands. Cilium is currently under review within the technical advisory group that I chair within the CNCF for adoption into the CNCF. And I'm bringing it up because their founder, is well could benefit from this. Like they want to become SMI traffic metrics compatible. They also are going to want to show off the performance of eBPF and the performance of Cilium. And so this type of an action is going to be really helpful. Jubril Rudraksh, like now that we've talked about that for 30 seconds, like that's old news. And so like the next step, SMI conformance, I don't think that that command works maybe just yet, but it should be pretty easy to fix. So that's next, I guess. Like, have you, let's go, Jubril, what do you recommend? Can we take that same act? So first of all, let's get the action into the GitHub marketplace. Second of all, let's get your name publicized and embarrass you about this. Third of all, let's talk about whether or not that particular action, I know you've had a vision toward this and been working toward it, but is that action is generic enough that it can run either a performance test or a conformance test or some other things? So do you just off your hip, are we on track to having a singular or a single action?
Yes, we are actually.
Good. I knew there was a reason why we paid you to. All right, it's getting awkward. We're gonna have to send you some the merchandise.
Yeah.
That's great. Congrats. That's really cool.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jubril. Looking forward to see more progress here. So moving on to Lee, do you want to talk about CNCF and Layer5 and Mesh3?
Yeah, so the last thing that people want to do is hear more from me on the call. So rather, I'll just pose the question to everybody else. So Navendu said, he made this statement about service mesh performance. So if you're not familiar with it, it's smp-spec.io is the site. Talked about that project and the Mesh3 project, both being donated to an open source foundation, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. What does that mean? And so does anybody have questions? Yeah. That means we're done. That was it. Yep. Off to the sort of, oh, and so, yeah, it wouldn't be too long before, well, 2 of your logos are going to show up here. So I hope you like green, two-toned green, because a lot of people are going to be seeing it. But honestly, who has questions? I mean, if people don't have questions, I'll just tell you what it means. Yeah, actually, there's some good, that's some good. Okay, there are 2, okay, Navendu, since you've got your browser up, if you don't mind cruising to github.com/cncf/TOC, Technical Advisory, or I'm sorry, Technical Oversight Committee, TOC. Yeah, yep, that one. Yeah, actually, that was the issue, yeah, 6. So the projects are in the process, so they've been voted in, and good, and it's not the end all. This isn't the end all. Like this was the goal for this has always been a goal for the projects, but it's just it's a great milestone in their journey. Part of the reason that it's such a significant milestone in the journey of these 2 projects is that for service mesh performance, their Intel and IBM engineers from these companies, their deeper participation had been gated by corporate policy that those organizations really like to participate, they're comfortable participating in projects that are within a foundation like this. And so now that that's happened, they are unchained. And so we should expect a lot more engagement from them. We also expect probably a lot more engagement from Intel on Meshery, because they're really going to want to use the performance tool itself. And I expect they're going to have quite a few feature enhancements. But in terms of what this means, so like, here's some specifics, like what does this mean to the projects themselves? Like specifically, this is the project onboarding tasks. For this one, I think is for Meshery, and there's another one for Service Mesh Performance. And here's the, like, did we hand over the domain names? Did we sign an agreement that the trademarks are owned elsewhere? Did we, blah, blah, blah. Like there's, you can look through the whole list. In essence, the vast majority of what this materially means to most of us is probably that things will accelerate a little bit. Like really, that more eyeballs will come, more people will discover the work that you've been doing, give you feedback on it, tell you what you've done wrong, point out your bugs, ask you to do more. Good, I hope you enjoy the feedback. And I hope that, you know, like there should be more people coming. So there's kind of a part of what the CNCF is a few different things, but one of them is a world-class marketing engine. Now, the thing is, sandbox projects are the lowest rung of a 3-tier project system within the CNCF. And as such, they intentionally do not receive the same amount of marketing, same amount of consideration. There's a long history as to how all this works. For my part, I've been engaged in the CNCF since its beginnings about 6 years ago. And they've commissioned us or me a couple of times to do some works, but generally we've been heavily involved, and so all of this is very well expected. As a matter of fact, so okay, well, does that mean that our goal is to stay in the sandbox? I don't know if that's your goal. It ain't mine. No, my goal is people like Samir to come along and say, I like this, that's wrong, can you do that? Yes, good. And he uses it and he gets a lot of value out of it. And eventually more people get value out of it, and it takes that next step into the incubating projects, like the next rung. Great, it benefits from more people coming in and doing things. Like eventually, hopefully people are really using it to expect a lot more out of their infrastructure, to work smarter for the operators of the world, the SREs of the world, the platform engineers of the world, the DevOps people of the world, to not have to go to those pesky developers and ask them to change the apps to do things. They can just go to the mesh to do it, and they can use Meshery to really help, empower them, really empowering of that persona. Also for the developers to get a ton of insight and a ton of control over how their distributed application is going to work. So they don't actually have to plead and beg and borrow from the SREs and the platform engineers to like change the number of retries or tune or tweak up the number of samples that are happening for their traces or what have you. Like they are significantly empowered as well. I'm speaking to what some of the core value prop of a service mesh is, which is really hard for a lot of people to get to. Meshery, like a lot of the other projects, was trying to make service meshes accessible to the rest of us. And when it does, it's trying to also answer some tough questions. And a lot of those questions initially have been focused on things around performance. That goes on for a long way. But there's a bunch of other aspects. Meshery's got a long roadmap. Roadmap is one of those things that that we'll spend more time on. That as the community, as we grow, there's a number of things we don't do well here and now. That's just a reflection of the journey of the community, the journey of the projects. Do we have unit test coverage across all the projects? Not by a long shot, right? You can see it very clear. Would we, by the time that we're the projects are growing up and maturing? Oh yeah. Like would they? Yeah. Would there be more structure, more process, etc.? Yeah. All that. You take a look at All the other metrics though about Meshery specifically, it already meets incubation level criteria. It already like would be totally acceptable to have submitted it at that higher rung. Well, then why didn't we start there? It's harder. Easier to start here. It was hard enough to get the darn things in the first place. We submitted them a couple of months ago. There was positive response. There was also like, hey, why doesn't SMP and Meshery and SMI all meld into one? Like, okay, well, maybe. Or why don't two of them meld together? And that's still an open question for the two specification projects, SMP and SMI. If you're not familiar with what SMI does, what SMP does, and what Meshery does, like, and then I'm going to share a link. Unless Navendu can find it. Actually, yeah, Navendu, if you can go to github.com, go to the GitHub for Service Mesh Performance. We'll end with this because we're about to be out of time, unless people have questions, but is the GitHub, yeah, it ends up being, right now it's layer5io / service-mesh-performance. There is, and actually, there's a project overview, a project presentation. If you scroll down in the README a little bit, a little further in the README past the logo, yeah, the overview, that big fat, that, yeah. Slides 7 and 8, well, slide 7 specifically is a Venn diagram that visually captures the underlap and overlap of service mesh interface, service mesh performance, and Meshery. One of you all should take that and go tweet about it or something like that. Most of the world doesn't understand this. Even the CNCF TOC members, they didn't understand it. That's why we had to wait for another couple months to bring the projects in to go figure this out. And so, by the way, that suggestion about going and tweeting about something or socially sharing or presenting or something is like, most of you are going to, I think in your head thinking, well, as soon as you start to think about that, you feel like an imposter. And that's not how I view it at all. These presentations and the resources in the Google Drive, they're there for the reasons of you using them. Go use them, go present them, go talk about them, go change them, go make your own, go make a copy of it, change it, like, go. Okay, I digressed into this to say, yeah, so to say, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the projects are there. We're gonna go do good stuff. Well, there's gonna be some shifting around of repos. So we're gonna move some of the repos into different GitHub organizations. Because even though Layer5 is truly a community first company, it is a company. It much to my, it doesn't sell anything yet. Hopefully at some point it needs to, but the point is like, hey, that part of the donation is like shifting intellectual property ownership, to a centrally governed foundation. The governance of the project is something that will evolve over time as well. None of that stuff changes. Like materially, none of what we all are doing, other than the URL to get to the repos, really changes. Hopefully things get up-leveled. Hopefully more people coming by, providing feedback, using things, jumping in, contributing. There's a couple of competitive projects out there. Not many at all. But there's a couple, and they've got a big head start. And they have the driving forces behind those have many tens of millions of dollars invested into those organizations and the resources to compete against you. So it is, against the odds that you all are holding your own. So pretty cool. Any other comments or questions about this? Random example of something that will change is if any of you go to submit a talk at KubeCon, for example, you'll see Meshry and Service Mesh Performance listed on the list. Like, is that what you're going to talk about? There'll also be more opportunities for some of you to speak or to sit on panels or to tell the world about what you're doing and get them engaged. There's already a ton of those opportunities today. But there'll be even more. It'll be even easier. There's a number of maintainer roles open in the community as well. And I really hope for my part, and I don't mean to speak on behalf of the other maintainers, but I really hope that they get filled. So yeah, by any one of you. And inevitably, if you're here long enough and you keep doing impactful work long enough, you're going to be asked to be one, like even whether you're asking or not. So, okay. Congrats, everybody. Cool.
Thank you, Lee. With that, I guess we are out of time today. We missed one. Yeah, Lee.
Sorry to interrupt. I didn't mean to, but actually Joe comes to mind. Joe doesn't, is Joe on the call? No. Okay, that's too bad.
I am here.
Oh, he is. Okay. Joe, you don't have to do this if this isn't, tickle your fancy, but is that Google slide deck that Navendi was just sharing, the link to it is inside of the README in the Service Mesh Performance repository. The website, the Jekyll-based website for Service Mesh Performance, smp-spec.io.
Yes.
It's in the same repo. It's under the docs folder, but the website itself, like it doesn't have a link to or an iframe for like the overview deck, that deck. And like, that'd be a great addition, I think, to the site. So I figured I'd call out in case somebody wanted to add it to the site.
Are you asking me if I can add that to this site here?
Yeah, if you would.
I thought I saw that as an issue somewhere in GitHub already, and I thought someone was working on that.
Oh, that could totally be the case. I am looking now. Is that the case? Oh, wow. Yeah, that there is an open issue, and
nobody is assigned to it, I guess.
Oh, there is someone that asked 5 days ago. Oops. I can't keep up with what's going on. So by the way, I wanted you to take this as an example if I can, and that is, there's a couple of things that I don't know that all of you are aware of. Like one, if you ever see an open PR, you're welcome to review
I think
it.
that's me.
Oh.
I saw that issue a few days ago, actually.
Oh, nice. Perfect. Yeah, please take it away. And we'll get you assigned now. So, oh yeah, Ayushman.
I will work on that Golang error code issue that you brought up toward the beginning of the call. I don't know if that is in GitHub yet as an issue.
Abhishek.
So there are a couple of issues that was created around in different repositories. I can share in the link.
Thanks. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, if there's a good place for somebody new to Golang to get started, I'll work on that.
That's fantastic. So okay, good. So the other thing I was going to say is that if anyone sees an open PR, you're all welcome to review it, express opinion, say things. Please, it's a great way to learn as well. And so don't feel like that's off limits. Like you can you should provide, feedback to people. People like getting feedback. The other thing is, in general, if there's an open issue and it has a help wanted on it, like what I was going to say is what just happened with Ayushman was he had asked like 5 days ago, like, hey, I'll get this knocked out. Well, 5 days ago, that would have been nice because 5 days ago, the CNCF was reviewing the project and it would have been nice to have it up. And I didn't see the comment. It's my fault for not. And what I'm trying to say is, many other, if you've been here long enough, you will have been invited to. Your user will have been invited to be part of the organization, which means your user has you and your user have the permission and are encouraged to triage issues. So if you see someone saying, hey, I'd like to do this, like if it's a help wanted thing, it's like the answer is pretty much always, that would be lovely, please do that. And so if you see that interaction going on, please engage with people, help be a steward, so cool. I know that it probably would feels that's non-obvious and would feel awkward to people to like jump into the middle of a conversation that two other people are having. And for my part, that's never the case with my issues. Please grab them.
Thank you, Lee. I guess it's time to wind up the meeting. We are only 10 minutes late today, so that's a good thing. We even missed one item, which is readiness of Meshery for the next release. So this will be discussed in the next week's Meshery call, which happens on Wednesday. And with that, I will see you next week and have a great weekend. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye, people.